We're not exactly angels, so here we go. I wanted to address it on a couple of the shows we did, but he's really not that important to me, and I don't think he's that important to anybody but himself and his own mind. So I want to get into some of the things he said when I was away, and people ask me why I didn't address it, and I think you know, but for the people that don't know, I was away in Europe filming for 3 months, a new series that's coming out, Nordic Narcos, about Klaus Malkowitz. That was my friend since the 90s, and it's on his life story. It's a series that's being filmed. It'll be out in 2022. While I was away, I understand Sammy made some comments and didn't let up about me. So I want to address those.
The first question I have about Sammy, did you know him before he was Sammy the Bull?
Before he was Sammy the Bull? No, I met him at the club in the early 80s, before the Castellano hit, and we put some videos out when I was at the Ravenite. Sammy's there, obviously. We knew each other. I wasn't friendly with him, never said I was to anybody. I was John Gotti Sr.'s guy. I wasn't Sammy's. And what people don't understand is, and the best way I can put this is, President Trump had a vice president that was Mike Pence. They weren't best buddies. They didn't hang out with each other like that. They did business together, no different than Sammy and John. But John was very smart, like I told you. He knew people, he knew how to maneuver people. He didn't have Sammy at his house sleeping there like I was. He didn't have Sammy as a family member. He had Sammy as arm length. He knew he couldn't trust him. He used him what he needed to use him for. He controlled him, obviously, because Sammy would walk around carrying his umbrella from when it was raining. So he didn't have respect for him like he did for a guy like Joe Watt, say, or Johnny Kinnick, or somebody that John liked and respected.
So when you said you had a lot to say about him?
Well, let's start from the beginning. So when a guy cooperates like Sammy did, he's talking about Cosa Nostra to the end. So there's the first hypocritical thing that you could say, you can laugh at. First. Second, he has no remorse at all. Third, he doesn't care what happens to kids, because he didn't care what happened to his own family, his own kids, his own brother-in-law.
Well, he killed 3 kids, didn't he? Or
no,
2
one.
kids?
No, one kid.
One.
15-year-old. In one of the episodes Jimmy Calandria did, from what I understand, he said Sammy was the shooter on it. So we'd have to go back and check to see if that's accurate. But I'm not sure if that's accurate, but he was involved in the killing, either way, of a 15-year-old. He has no remorse for that.
Yeah, I think me and Anthony looked it up, and one way or another, he was either the killer or there or one of the two.
Yeah, well, he was there for sure, but I think he was the shooter. So we'd have to check the tapes on that. But let's get back to Sammy and remorse. And he was telling people he's going to give me a history lesson of Cosa Nostra. So let me give him one. Here's Cosa Nostra. You don't do YouTubes. He's doing YouTube. Cosa Nostra, you don't rat on your boss. He ratted on his boss. Cosa Nostra, you don't rat on the rest of the mafia. He ratted on the rest of the mafia. Cosa Nostra, you don't deal drugs. After you ratted, you came home and dealt drugs with your whole family. That's why he said he doesn't care about his own family. He put them in harm's way. That's not Cosa Nostra. Cosa Nostra, you don't kill a 15-year-old kid. Cosa Nostra, you don't start yapping like the way he does all the time. And Cosa Nostra, you talk like you're a killer. You did one shooting out of 19. Anybody wants, check the paperwork. One. Besides that, he killed a 15-year-old boy.
Well, 1 minute he killed 4 people. The next minute it's 44. The next minute it's 30.
Well,
it's 1.
He's wearing a Superman cape, but listen, first of all, the guy's 120 pounds. He should wear a Minnie Mouse cape. And, his day's over. His ego, he thinks, he's talking about Cosa Nostra as if he's a sitting underboss. This is a guy that never been to Italy. This is a guy who can't speak one word of Italian. This is a guy who got chased out of the Colombo family, right? And Louis Milletti, his friend, saved his life. And they accused him of being by the police station too much and being a snitch. That's why they chased him. And then Louis brought him over to the Gambino family. He set up his best friend to get killed. So this is a guy that is going to give lessons to anybody about Cosa Nostra. This is a guy, how's he going to give me a lesson when I'm a shooter? This guy was put in a position because John Gotti needed him to maneuver him. And John Gotti never trusted him. And this is a guy that talks about Frankie Locascio, who died in jail, just like John Gotti Sr., because he put them there. He acts like he's friends with Frankie, and Frankie liked him. Frankie didn't like him. Frankie died there because of him. And this is a guy who has an excuse why he ratted on John Gotti Sr., but he doesn't have an excuse why he ratted out the rest of the Mafia and the other 200-something guys. And if he really believed in Cosa Nostra like he claims, he was with John Gotti in the city, in Manhattan, in a lockup. He could have killed him. He could have paid somebody to kill him. This guy just didn't want to go to jail. So he could say what he wants about Cosa Nostra. He's nothing like Cosa Nostra or what it's supposed to mean. So when he says it's in his veins and he believes in it to the day he dies, well, if you believe in it so much, don't hide in a cave in Arizona. Come back to Brooklyn and tell everybody how you feel and see what they do with you. Even now, when they're not killing that much, I guarantee you they kill him. So when this guy's sending out this fake message and he reads off a prompter like Joe Biden does, our president, this guy's not able to just sit there and talk and have an interview with somebody. So, when this guy has the audacity or the gall to talk about me, I dare him to sit across from me and tell me how violent he was. I'll pick him apart.
Now, what do you think John Gotti's original plan was for him? I mean, John seems like, he was a little bit too flamboyant and everything. We can all agree with that. But what do you think his original plan was from the gate? Because you said...
Besides carrying the umbrella from when it's raining?
Yeah, besides carrying the umbrella. Because you said there was no way he trusted him. So he didn't use him for anything that would be trusting.
No, John used him as... He's a glorified messenger. So on these murders or on these, piece of work or anything that's going on, he's telling one guy to tell another guy to tell another guy. John used him like he did anybody else. He shielded himself with him in front. He gave him messages. A lot of these 19 murders, everybody knows that John said he didn't he didn't give these murders to Sammy. Sammy was doing them and telling people it was coming from John. There's no way to verify that. The only thing we can verify is this. The way Sammy just betrayed me after I gave him $3,000, the way he lied and he elaborated on a story that's so fake.
Wait, you gave him $3,000?
$3,000 when he came home, he didn't have a penny. Now, he got his lawyer, Doug Anton, from me when he was in prison. I can't call him, so obviously he got in touch with me somehow. I gave that same lawyer to his daughter, who I'm friendly with, I like, and unfortunately I'm talking against her father, and I don't like that because he has kids, but I also have kids. So he didn't take that into consideration when he was talking against me. Now, this is the same guy that betrayed John Gotti Sr., where John died on his own spit. John had incidents in jail because of him, and John suffered the last years. But this is a guy that lied to the extent that I have to believe John at this point because I didn't know exactly the intricacies that went on between them. But now that I see that he made this story up about me, he actually got on an interview and did 40 minutes talking about me on an interview with the guy that did my movie, Perfect Gangster. Yeah. So you didn't just lie. You elaborated to that extent, and now you're saying you did it for $3,000? Your character is for $3,000? You actually are saying that about yourself? That you'll lie your ass off? So I said for $5,000, I wonder what kind of prostitute he would have been for me. I said, you imagine this is supposed to be the acting, this is supposed to be an underboss at one time? The guy has no qualms with saying that I lied and I made up this crazy story. And if anybody wants to believe that, ask him how he got his attorneys. And Doug Anton is still involved with me. I can get him to tell you how he got him, so he ain't going to lie. I could get my phone tabs to show how often he called me. And for me to give him $3,000, he wasn't doing shows at the time. He got the idea to doing shows from me because I was the only guy really doing podcasts at that time, especially mob podcasts. Michael Francis was doing other ones. And Sammy asked me to go after Michael Francis for him because Michael was badgering and destroying Sammy on every interview. He was talking against Sammy for whatever reason. I don't know what their problem was.
Aren't they one and the same?
No, they ended up making up with each other, and they do some whatever discussion with each other.
Oh, yeah.
And they made an agreement, and they asked me to stop going after Michael a little bit so we could all do a show together, whatever. And, so Sammy maneuvered, and he asked me to help him to combat Michael, to shut him down. So now he changed that story, but I also have phone tabs on how often Sammy called me. But I think his history says itself. I mean, a guy betrayed his own family and killed his brother-in-law. He didn't kill him. He doesn't have the balls to kill him. He has somebody else shooting him from the back of the head somewhere. I mean, this is his makeup. If you can betray your own family, your own wife, your own brother-in-law to do something like that, if you can betray the honor of selling drugs in your house after you just cooperated and got a sweetheart deal and probably only did about 3 years originally, and then sell drugs with your whole family involved, get them all
And when he get hit with ecstasy with his daughter?
Yeah.
Including his daughter?
Yeah, including everybody. So you're going to give me a history lesson on Cosa Nostra when I'm Albanian? You've never been to Europe in your life. I'm there every week. I'm in every country. I'm a guy whose family's involved in every country. I'm a guy that was in Italy 100 times. This guy's never been to Italy. Well, I shouldn't say because I'll say exaggerate. I'm saying 100 times, meaning I've been there plenty. So, this is a guy who can't step foot in Italy. You're going to give me a history lesson about the mob in the street when you don't have a clue about it and you have no family involvement prior when you were younger? And so what history lesson could you possibly give anybody about Cosa Nostra except you're a prime example of betrayal to your family, to the mob, to your boss, to me, to anybody you haven't been involved with? You betray. You have no loyalty, nothing. You don't care about what happens to these kids today. You're trying to bullshit them that you're a killer when you didn't do any work. I just told everybody, out of 19 murders, he did one in his own admission on the stand. So this is not a guy that everybody thinks who he is. So when somebody says, oh, he's the underboss, how can you question what he's saying? Easy. Joe Bonanno's son just abused him. Same thing, that he's a liar. That he got his teeth knocked in by Joe Bonanno's son when he picked on the little brother who was 3 years younger. So this is a guy who never got into a fist fight. He can't name a guy probably that he ever got into a fist fight with. So I'll believe Teddy Atlas when he says he can't use his hands. Well, Teddy Atlas is a great trainer. I'll believe guys that I know my whole life that I was raised with was John Gotti, that said that this guy's garbage. He's not 1/10 of what anybody thinks he is. He wrote a letter pertaining to that. So if you don't know that, there was a letter written to the media, to a journalist from John Gotti about this guy's not what anybody thinks. So now going back to why did he put him in that position? Because at the time he fit what John needed him for. John put his own brothers there, not because he disliked his brothers, because he knew he could control them. So John kept people around him like Jackie D'Amico, nice guy. Jackie's a sweetheart of a guy. He loves Gotti, but John could, control him. So the same. So when Sammy's talking about guys like Gaspipe, he's only talking about him because he's dead. And when he's talking about Joe Watts, because he knows Joe Watts is in prison and his hands are tied and he became a rat, he could call Joe Watts anything he wants and why he wants. But Joe Watts was a tough guy, a big money maker. It's easy for him to throw darts at everybody, including myself. But when you made so many statements against the Gottis and against John Gotti Jr. himself, and then you just made a dumb statement against me with John Gotti Jr. So which statement do you want, Sammy? This one or that one or this one? But how do you have the nerve to say anything after you're the one that made John Gotti Sr., his father, John Gotti Jr.'s father, suffer and die in prison like he did, like a dog? Nobody but he did that. So he could say what he wants, because if he went to trial, nobody knows what would have happened. But by him selling out, he doesn't believe in Cosa Nostra. So what is this nonsense, I believe in Cosa Nostra? He doesn't believe in helping one child. He said, fuck the kids to me when I was doing things with trying to help kids and for them not to believe. But the reason when I stand here and I say to you or anybody, I shot that when I did this, when I shot, I do it for a reason, to show these guys are good manipulators, maneuverers, liars, con men. He never did anything. He did one or two things. Killing a baby is one of them. He says, or setting up his brother-in-law. These are cowardly things that he's done. These weren't tough guy things. I said, and I challenged anybody to find out when this guy went by himself anywhere, like I did. And now, so I could teach him a lot about Cosa Nostra. I could teach him a lot about betrayal. I could teach him a lot about all these things that they did to me. But I do one thing. I don't romanticize that world. I don't agree with that world. I'm against that world, even though I was raised in that world. But these guys' messages are such lies. This guy, I shouldn't say these guys, him. The message is such a lying message. So when people say to me, well, he was the underboss. He was the underboss for about 5 minutes, first off. He wasn't there long.
Now, when he first came into life, do you think he was the way he was when he first came in? Or do you think as he started to gain notoriety, he was in the paper more, he was around John more, then he started to get cocky, and that changed him? Or do you think he was just an asshole from the beginning?
When I met him, I actually said that he was quiet. I thought, he didn't have an ego, blah, blah, blah. I'm completely wrong. I got to say the truth. He says, I didn't know him like that, but I did say to everybody, I never knew him like that. I just knew him from being at the club. He seemed like a gentleman. He was quiet. But obviously, his history of betraying everybody says it for itself. And, I'm not the first guy he betrayed. So when a journalist asked me, are you surprised? I just did like a bullshit thing, a small thing when I was in the car just to, put some news out that I was going to do a regular sit down again with you. But a journalist prior to that,
Thank you.
when I was doing, you're welcome. I was doing a magazine, The New Yorker, and she asked me my opinion of him, and I said to him, the guy's got a history of betrayal. This is who he is. This is nothing new that he betrayed me. I'm not surprised he betrayed me, actually. This is what he did. This is what he does. And if he was that tough guy he claims he'd be, he wouldn't be hiding in Arizona. I say in the cave. He's hiding with somewhere over there in the desert. Since he's been out. And before he got caught selling the drugs, he went there. So if you're really saying who you are and you're not afraid and you don't care about anybody, then why are you living there? You don't tell me you like Arizona better than Brooklyn. I mean, you're the guy that says you're a true blue Italian gangster, Cosa Nostra to the end. So come on back. See what happens to you.
So why do you think he took a shot at you? Do you think it's because of Gotti Jr.? Do you think that's why he took a shot at you? I mean, why even bring you up?
He made a dumb comment about John Gotti Jr.'s son, who's a professional fighter. He's not some kid that plays video games. He's in great shape. Regardless, he made it sound like I made a comment about his kid, and I shouldn't challenge him to fight. We were approached by a group of men that were involved with pay-per-view, Showtime, and they offered a couple $1 million between me and the fighter, Phil Baroni, who was a UFC fighter, great fighter, who's very friendly with me, who stayed with me, lived with me at one time. His father worked for me. And he said that they wanted to put a fight together. Just like the kid Paul, the YouTuber, has been fighting different people. They wanted to put a fight together with me and Gotti Jr. and the son and Phil Baroni. It was a business move. It wasn't nothing personal with any of us. So when he made that comment, I said, this will show you what kind of imbecile, uneducated guy the guy is. This has nothing to do with families. This has nothing to do with the Mafia. This had to do with a professional fighter that they approached us to fight, to put a fight together and make a ton of money. Now, whether somebody wants to accept that fight or not, it had nothing to do with a personal thing with Gotti or anything. And again, this is a good fighter. This is not some kid that can't
Some
fight.
joke. Yeah.
Guy's in the ring every day.
Are you shocked that he's walking around? Are you shocked that after all this time, that nobody's taken a shot at him?
No, it was a plot to kill him years ago. Pete Gotti was involved in it. Huck, one of the guys that was involved with Sammy back then, and they all got caught in the plot. Sammy gave information against them. Huck got life, Pete got life on it, or close to it. And so, no, I'm not shocked because he's hiding. I mean, if he was living here, I don't think he'd last too long, and he knows that. So even when I met him with one of the soldiers that were involved in his family, who was very close to me. I don't mention his name. So when he says that he doesn't know exactly much about me, it's another lie. Because his good friend that was, and still is my good friend, was with me. We met in Newark Airport at one of the hotels. And I didn't come there with bodyguards and armed guys, but he did. He came with about 6 guys. So with all kinds of security, if you're going to be that tough guy that you're claiming to be, then what's with the 6 guys? What's with the armed guards? What's with the, payment? But when you want to tell, he's doing a podcast about himself every day, and he's the hero every day. So, he's starting to buy into his own crap. The only thing is nobody's looking into what I'm saying. Did he ever get involved in a fist fight? Let's tell us about it. You were in jail? in jail. He forgot to tell us the story, but he was in jail with Joey Caves. And they used to call him the Great Adventure Man because you ever see that commercial, the bald guy with the glasses and he dances? They used to send pictures out all over him with this.
And call him that?
Well, they just call him a jailhouse snitch.
Yeah.
They threw him off the table, and Joey's a tough kid. So, and Joey's a young guy. So Joey didn't want to beat him up or hurt him. He just told him, get lost. Don't sit at the table when we're over here. Or, you're going to get a beat. Nobody wants to hit you. Get off the table. Now, he could change these stories because, again, nobody's checking his history. But since, he overstepped his bounds with me. Anybody
it's like
that knows
with him, like he says something and it like sticks, right? Like if Sammy says it, well,
I don't know anybody would believe him because this is the guy that
he's idiots.
This is the guy that betrayed everything. Listen, he didn't, like I said, he didn't just betray Gotti. He betrayed Frankie Loke. He betrayed the rest of the Mafia. He betrayed all his friends. He betrayed, so that's one thing, all right? He's going to say, well, I ratted. Well, no shit. So then why you keep talking about Cosa Nostra to the end? But not only did you betray them, you betrayed your brother-in-law. So if you didn't want to kill your brother-in-law, I don't know what snow story you're telling anybody, you could have gave him a couple bucks and told him, take it on the hop. Go live in Alaska. Don't come back or they're going to kill you. He didn't do that. He could have killed. He could have not killed that 15-year-old boy that witnessed something, but he came with some story. But the biggest thing is he has no remorse to any of them. It's only about Sammy. So if he had remorse, he wouldn't be advocating the way he does about the mob. He would be doing talks for kids. He'd go out and say, don't follow this life. I suffered. I betrayed this life because I don't believe in it because so and so and so. But he doesn't do that.
Well, you would think like after losing a kid, whether you were there, you did it or not, if you really changed, even a tiny bit, the first thing I would do is I'd be going out and talking to kids and saying, look, because you just were involved in losing a kid. And what does he do? He takes his own kids and goes on a reality show.
Yeah, well.
Now, what do you think about that? I know he's on another one now, but it was like you didn't hear about Sammy other than a couple podcasts or, maybe like the history show. Then all of a sudden, he's in this big fucking mansion. And
it's not his house.
Well, I know. But I mean.
This is the same guy who admits I gave him $3,000.
Right. So he gets
So where's his character integrity?
Right. So it's the show's house that he's in and wherever. Which, number one, 3 questions to ask you. How do the feds even allow that to happen? Not only that he's doing a reality show, but then they're allowing cameras to go where he's at when he's supposedly under protection, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? The thing is with Sammy, everything you see about him is fake. He doesn't know how to be a real individual. I asked him to do talks with me with kids when I've been doing talks forever. So he told me, what are you, an idiot? You're not getting paid. Why would you do it? If they're too stupid to not see it themselves, fuck them. Now, what kind of guy says that? This is a guy that got a second chance at life, and he fucked it up. Then he got a third chance. And now he's still bragging about a life like this? I mean, anybody that listens to this and really believes anything he says, I mean, he's a storyteller. He's a good storyteller. He's a good bullshitter. He's a good manipulator. I give him that. But he ain't nothing but that. So I'd have anybody sit across with him there with me, and not that I want to do any of his dumb shows with him, but I would have him sit there, and I'll ask him, when did you use a knife yourself? Did you ever do anything without 6 guys being with you? I want to know when you did it by yourself once, like me. I want to know when you were in a prison and someone seen you get into a fist fight.
Why don't we do it on my show? We'll do like Rogan style,
yeah.
And like 3 hours, and you guys can go back and forth.
It wouldn't take 3 hours. I know. It would take me 5 minutes to pick them apart because these guys are good at one thing.
Yeah.
Manipulating, right? He's got a title of bullshit. They're good at throwing out titles, but they never did anything. I want to know how he got there. What'd you do by yourself, buddy? What'd you do? He told a story one time on one of his shows about a robbery. I don't watch his stuff, and somebody sent it to me, so you got to laugh. He's talking about some dumb robbery with in and out, and he's sleeping, and the girl ended up on his chest with a gun to his head, and he's sounding like a little kid. He's talking about the Ramptors when he was 15 and 16 and 17. You are an underboss. This is the only stories you got? This is what you're talking about? I'll show you every one of my friends, Kevin Bond or whoever. We all grew up in the street. We tell you about 200 robberies. I get guys like Gene that were growing up in the street that did the other show with me. Did robberies left and right, serious ones. This guy ain't got nothing like that to talk about. That's why these guys are such, their image of people believe in them is nonsense. They got there, who knows how, and who they kissed ass to, and who they maneuvered and manipulated. But I'll tell you one thing, if you get up on the stand to talk about 19 murders, you only did one, it's a pretty good case that I got to start believing John Gotti.
And when you say no remorse, when you saw him on that show with his kids, I mean, that says it all.
I don't watch it.
I mean, not saw him, I mean, just heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about no remorse.
He sent me
you already got your kids jammed up with however many ecstasy pills. Now you're going to go on live TV. How if somebody's in them woods with a sniper, right? I mean, that's possible, right?
Well, again, this is a guy who's begging me for $3,000, right? So you couldn't even get $3,000 anybody in your family. So that'll tell you about what he is. So, if you don't have $3,000, and if you say, I gave it to you for you to, how would I even have the ability to talk to you, to ask if I could give you $3,000 so you could talk for me? Where would that come from? How did I get in touch with you? How'd you know me? How'd you know to call me? How did you call me? And again, if he lies, we're going to get the phone taps, my phone taps, and show you how often he called me. But if he lies, it's just part of who he is. He does this every day. He betrays everybody that he's ever touched in his life. So this is not something that's new. I'm not asking anybody, trust me. I'm showing you by his actions. I'm showing you by his lies. I'm daring him, since he's such a good storyteller. I could tell stories about Santa Claus. This guy's telling stories about himself. When did you do that armed robbery? Show me. When did you stab somebody by yourself? Show me. When did you get to a fist fight? Tell me. Because anybody knows me from prison, I can name the names of the guys that were fought in prison by myself. I didn't jump them. And big guys, not bullshit guys. Guys like Louis Riccio, who passed away, and I always say, my condolence to him. But he was a tough guy, Louis. He was no guy that you could just go swing at.
Just one swing and drop.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Elite Show, sponsored by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. If there's something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals, go to BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. People know that I've talked about therapy. I believe in it. I use it. BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. I believe in it. Go get happiness and give it a try. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist.
You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional therapy done securely online. There is a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime to send a message to your therapist. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, so you don't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with many traditional therapies.
BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read the testimonials that are posted daily.
Hey, John, here's some reviews from BetterHelp.com. That's better, H-E-L-P.com. Denise is very kind, compassionate, and caring therapist. In my opinion, she is a master of her craft, both experienced and knowledgeable. She is able to help me look at my problems from a different perspective and always has a positive suggestion. I highly recommend her to anyone looking for a therapist. And another review, John, from BetterHelp.com, better, H-E-L-P.com. David knows how to come up with approaches to issues on the spot. It's very comforting to know he's capable of doing such because I know I'm in safe hands. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, that they are recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. Visit BetterHelp.com/MafiaTruths. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. BetterHelp.com/MafiaTruths and join the over 2 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional.
Special offer for Mafia Truths with John Alite. Listeners get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp, HELP.com/MafiaTruths. That's at BetterHelp, HELP.com/MafiaTruths. Mafia Truths. Promo code Mafia Truths. That's promo code Mafia Truths. Go get your help today. Don't stress. Don't be depressed. Live a happy life. Use them. BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Great shape. He was a guy that was out there doing work. He was a guy that was a wrestler in college and a very good wrestler. So this is not some guy you're picking your shots on. So, when guys talk, when you're doing an armed robbery, tell me where you did it. When you did a shooting, I don't want to hear about a messenger you passed or somebody had coffee with you, 6 guys in a room, and you popped some guy in the back of the head. It wasn't you popping him, it was somebody else. And you have when Value Entertainment asked him the question, he ducked it. Oh, I'm all in, and okay, forget all that nonsense, con on and manipulation. Get down and let's hear some serious stories. Tell me what you did yourself, because I could sit there and tell them all day. And the people that say that it's true, it ain't true, I got plenty of witnesses that I say names when I say it.
So maybe he was there, but he didn't do shit.
Well, he was hardly there too, and he didn't do shit exactly.
Or
it doesn't take any
gave
tough
a message.
Yeah, and it doesn't. He's a mess. He's a glorified message. That's what I said. With a title, they like to throw out titles, but they don't do any work. And this is the part that I keep telling kids: don't buy into these guys, because all they do is try to manipulate and maneuver and tell war stories, but they didn't do it. So when they didn't do it, how do you respect them? When they didn't get to a fight, how do you respect them? He's telling a story about Joe Bonanno's little brother that he beat up. You were 9 years old. He was 9. The kid was 9 and he was 12. And then Joe Bonanno's other son beat him up. Oh, he didn't tell that story because that guy was his own age. But telling a story, there's nothing wrong with getting beat up. It's the way he tells the story like he's the hero. But he hasn't told a story when he got in a car and he had to go clip somebody himself. Or he had to go fight somebody himself. Or he had to go stab somebody himself. Not with 10 guys, not with 5 guys, not with 3 guys, because anybody can do that. It's a coward's move.
What happened when he had to go in and get in the car and clip somebody by himself?
There is no story to that, unless he's 15 years old.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, unless he's a 15-year-old boy that he never had regret for. He never wrote a letter to the family.
Right.
Instead, like I said, he comes home, and then another guy that manipulates and follows, but he followed my footsteps. I'm the guy doing all the shows. Nobody else was doing the shows. Go look. The only other guy that was doing any kind of talk was Michael Francis, and it wasn't on a podcast, and he wasn't interviewing like me. I interviewed ministers, I interviewed ex-gangsters, psychologists, criminal defense lawyers that were very good, like the lawyer Levine that I interviewed. I interviewed community leaders. I interviewed ex-cops. There's a difference. I interviewed students, college students. I interviewed different people to show that this life was no good. And I interviewed these people to show the downside of this life, the street. I didn't interview people to brag about that life. I do the opposite. I think I'm the only one that goes out there and doesn't glorify this life.
Well, him and Francis do the same interview every time. It's something Mafia. Something Mafia. It's either talking about a Mafia movie or what they did or what they didn't do or what it's like. And
I ain't going to say I agree with all Michael Francis things. Obviously, people know I don't. But at least he's articulate. And at least he's intelligent.
He is articulate. Yeah. I'll give him that. And he is intelligent.
Yeah. I mean, he can sell whatever he's doing. Sammy, on the other hand, isn't. And I'm not saying anything that's not true. The guy's got a 3rd-grade education. He's not intelligent, but the difference between, I don't think Michael tries to come off that he was a tough guy. He just tries to come off that he made money, whatever. Now, whether I agree or not is another thing. But Sammy tries to come off that he was a gangster's gangster. And he's not even close. You know how I know he's not a gangster? Because I was really a street guy. And he was with my co-defendants, like Kevin Bonner, guys that grew up with me in the street since I'm a little kid. So anybody that really, I don't have to defend that because these guys couldn't tie my shoes when it comes to being on the street. They don't even know what it is. They're not street smart. They're not street savvy. People say, oh, this guy's crazy. He's saying that about an underboss. No, this is a guy that got carried the whole way by somebody. Louis Milletta carried him, and then his thank you to him, he set up his friend. Anybody that's carried this guy, he's fucked over. John Gotti carried him, and he fucked him over. I helped him when he came home, and he fucked me over. This is his personality. His family helped him. He got them jammed up. This is him. So, betrayal's in his blood. When a snake's a snake and somebody said, why'd you help me? I figured out how that story went. They helped the snake across the street and the snake bit him. Yeah. And he goes, well, why'd you do that? I just helped you. And the snake says, because I'm a snake. Well, that's Sammy Gravano. You can't expect anything but that from a snake. He doesn't have the ability to be a nice guy. He doesn't have the ability because his ego doesn't let him. Everything's got to be about Sammy. So if it ain't about Sammy, it doesn't work. And he thinks he's smart with his spam messages, like, I don't know who it is. And, this ain't too difficult, but he's not too intelligent. So he thinks that he's fooling somebody. So the rhetoric that comes out of the guy, this was due for a while. And, when people say to me, well, what do you think overall of the guy? I just said it all just now. This is what I think of the guy.
He's a fucking snake is what you pretty much said.
And he's not an intelligent one.
Yeah, I was just going to say, was he a good earner?
Well, here again, if he was such a good earner, it's very easy to earn when you got John Gotti telling everybody do business with Sammy. He's my underboss. The money's coming to me. And there's tapes with John yelling at Sammy, pull it back. Stop choking everybody. Stop taking their money. Stop this, stop that. He called John a liar. Now, unless you're there, you don't know who's lying or not. And I was a loyalist to John. But I didn't know what really was true. Now, after what he just done to me, I know a lot about Sammy and his personality.
Now what you weren't sure about, you're sure about.
Well, yeah, because you don't do this to somebody, especially somebody that helps you. He couldn't get 2 cents. And he made this fake story up that I gave him $3,000 so he could talk for me. But he left out the part that why would I give a guy $3,000 when I'm the one doing shows he wasn't.
What does he mean talk for you? Like go
he
on a
wanted
talk show for you?
No, he wanted me to boost my persona. So I got to laugh.
Oh, that's all you need, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. I got to laugh. The guy that did no shooting is going to boost my persona that did all the shooting.
That's pretty funny.
The guy that did all the robbing, me, is going to. I need this guy to boost my persona. The guy that says he's a good businessman, and this is my point to your last question, is if you're such a good businessman and you had money when you came home the first time, why would you have to sell ecstasy? Why don't you just go back in the construction business since you know it so well? But you're not that smart. You're not that good. And the only reason why you got away with any of that is because you were sitting next to John Gotti. And unfortunately, John Gotti got the ending story of what I just got the other day, but he lost his life for his story with him. He found out quick there's the snake. So when he says, John Gotti told me I had to take the weight for the case, and who's buying that? He's selling that story. John Gotti didn't say that, but he says John said it. So people going to believe that? Because he said it? The guy who has a track record of lying. The guy who has a track record that gas pipe when he was in jail and he started cooperating said Sammy's full of shit. The same guy, Joe Bonanno's son, who just said Sammy's full of shit. There's 2. Teddy Atlas said Sammy's full of shit. That's 3.
And that's just off
I
the top
say
of your
Sammy's
head.
full of shit too. So
That's 4.
So everybody's lying against poor Sammy. Because if you listen to poor Sammy, it's all everybody else's fault but Sammy's. But the best part is he has the audacity now to talk about Frankie Loke like he's his buddy. Frankie Loke just died in jail because of you. He didn't die because of John Gotti. He died because of you. You tried to switch it and blame John Gotti. But Frankie Loke didn't decide to cooperate like you did. Frankie Loke decided to stay in jail, and you sold him out. After you sold John Gotti out and you tried to switch it, John Gotti sold you out. So did I speak up for Sammy before? Yeah, and I said I didn't know Sammy to that extent. I've always said that. I said I was in his company always. I never really talked to him. John made sure I didn't talk to him. And John had the foresight to actually say maybe one day we're going to kill this guy, so he didn't want me to get friendly with him. Now,
is that why he kept you away from him?
Yeah. And I didn't know that as a young guy. I didn't understand why he wasn't keeping me near him. But he didn't trust him to that extent. Now, his son knows that. And here's a final point about Sammy Gravano lying. Right? When Louis DeBona was supposed to get killed, it was on and it was off. Sammy Gravano had no idea who was involved in that hit team when it was back on. And I know, I'm going to leave some names out. Hello, everybody. Another episode of The Elite Show, sponsored by Green Chef. Green Chef is a CCOF certified meal kit company. Green Chef makes eating well easy with plans to fit every lifestyle.
Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals, Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preferences.
Green Chef is the most sustainable meal kit. Green Chef's pre-proportioned ingredients mean you'll actually reduce your food waste by at least 25% compared to grocery store shopping.
And John, did you know that Green Chef is convenient and easy? Green Chef saves you time by taking care of meal planning, grocery shopping, and most of your prep week after week so that you don't have to. You know, I used other services and they would deliver, and they never deliver exactly what I get. What I end up getting is not what I ordered. They substitute it. With this Green Chef, I mean, you get exactly what you ordered. It makes cooking at home easier, simpler, faster, and a more balanced diet. Rob, what are you eating over there?
Hey, well, funny you should ask, Tommy. I got my Green Chef today. It came in this wonderful box, packed to the brim, and it came with this temper pack, which kept the food nice and cold. I actually finished my plate. I licked it clean, as you can see. It was that good. And I had the sausages and mashed acorn squash. Oh, my God, so good. It tells me on here, too, the calories per serving, the net carbs. You know, gave me the easy recipe, threw it together. It was done in no time, fresh as fresh could be. I would recommend this to anyone, and I'm looking for more Green Chef boxes at my front door.
Green Chef offers options for every lifestyle. I happen to have the Moroccan shrimp bisque today. Actually, I love it. It's healthy, tasty, and I eat it all the time. Since I started eating Green Chef, I dropped 7 pounds, and I'm continuing on working on it, and it's convenient for me. Tommy, what are you eating today?
Hey, John, I'm having the creamy chicken caper sauce meal. It's very good. It came fresh with ice packs in it. I was really impressed with it, and it came quick. It didn't take a week. I got my whole entire week at one clip. And actually, on the bag, it says, this bag is greener than a salad bar. So there you go. I mean, what more could you ask for?
So everybody, don't miss your meals. Go to greenchef.com/elite10 and use code elite10 to get 10 free meals, including free shipping. So that's greenchef.com/elite10 and use code elite10 to get 10 free meals, including free shipping.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. greenchef.com.
No, because he didn't mention one of the names that was involved in it. So I know he's lying. So, I know that this guy, gamed the government. He gamed us. He gamed John Gotti. He gamed John Gotti Jr. He's fucked everybody in his path. He gamed his own brother-in-law. He gamed that little boy, like I said earlier. And the biggest thing is, even if he did all that, he has no remorse. He's still gaming people. But when you come home and you're penniless and you beg me, and I don't know you like that, and you beg me, and I felt bad because I've been in that position. I changed my life. I'm trying to help people. And I gave him the $3,000.
You give a limb.
Oh, and I gave it to him through one of my friends who was also involved before, who was out of life, who was also a made guy, who was also very friendly with me. And Sammy meets us with armed guards, So when you talk like this gangster, and you're on your whatever, I don't want to say you're your deathbed, but you're close to the door, you would think you want to change your life and help some people and get rid of the ego and do the right thing. But instead, he's jealous of people. He's envious of people. He doesn't like people. But if he's this killer, okay, answer that question. Who'd you shoot, buddy? Forget about just kill. Who'd you stab up, buddy? Who'd you rob, buddy? When'd you do it by yourself, buddy? You're a fucking fraud. I don't give a shit about your title. You got the wrong guy. And anybody who really, really knows me on the street and will use Mikey Scars that made statements about me, who was a made guy, and or Ronnie One-Arm, who said he was afraid of me because he didn't want to end up like other people. These are captains, right? They're talking like this about me. They all know I don't care about any of their positions. I'm Albanian. I had my own thing. I got hundreds of guys everywhere if I want to live in that life. In every country, different than them. Name a country and I'll put them on the telephone with you. And right now, I don't got to get off.
You actually did show me that, yeah.
When they did the travel magazine, they asked me, you want to go to Switzerland? I'll call somebody there. You want to go to Germany? I'll call them there. And all my friends from every country's got to laugh. UK, Africa, because they know I travel all over the world.
That's crazy because you really do. I saw you doing it.
This guy never left his block, Sammy. You're going to talk to me about gangster? No, I'm international. There's a little difference, business-wise and every otherwise. These guys, to me, are dummies that live on a corner, that believe their little fantasies, and they need to get shot in the arm a little bit. Somebody needs to knock them a little bit in the arm because they're just frauds, and they're trying to sell a dream to kids that isn't true. And these guys are the biggest frauds, and I'll pull their cards on all of them. I'm not doing what I used to do, right? Meaning killing and hurting, but I'll pull it this way. And I'll show everybody what kind of frauds are. I challenge them. Forget about coming back after me, call me names. I challenge you to tell everybody what you did. You're a good storyteller.
And then it's over.
But he can't tell stories.
I know.
He didn't do anything.
Sounds like somebody else.
You know, I'll give him a card and tell you, from now on, I'm going to give cards out to everybody and tell them, oh, you're a captain, you're a boss, you're this. They're frauds, and I keep trying to tell kids, don't follow this lead. Go enjoy your life.
And you're doing the right thing. Now, before we're going to have Sammy the Bull 2. This is Sammy the Bull 1. Just in a nice way. Do you think he gets shot? Do you think he dies of old age? Or do you think he gets arrested? Which do you think happens first?
I don't think he gets shot because he's hidden away. He's a cooperator. Who knows what he's still doing? Does he die of old age? I mean, listen, you know, the thing is, you know, as you're getting older, right? I'm not his age, but as you get older, you have a new understanding of life, right? And you want to end it in a good way. You want to do the right things, not the wrong things. So for a decade, I've been doing the right thing, right? Because the first half of my life, I screwed up, obviously. Now it's a life about trying to tell kids, hey, enjoy your life. Don't be stupid. Don't be a sucker. Stop playing these games like these guys buying into their nonsense. It's all, you know, just a fairy tale. You're better off, if you want to watch stories, just watch the movies, because that's what they are. They're not, you know, this is not reality of this life.
Yeah.
The betrayal is right in front of you. I'm giving you, you want to know the mob? Yeah, betrayal. Put it in capital B and put Sammy's name next to it, and that's the life. That's the mob. You know, forget about me. You remember something. How would it go, you know, when the journalist asked me, does it surprise me? How is it going to surprise me unless I'm a dummy? I mean, a complete dummy, an imbecile. The guy betrayed his own family. What would not make him?
Why would it shock you that he's going to betray you, right?
He betrayed his own brother-in-law, his brother-in-law. You might hate your brother-in-law. That's what you do. You set him up. So, you know, of course you're going to betray me. This doesn't surprise me. So, you know, like in Bronx Tale, he tells the kid that $20 was worth, you know, to see that.
To get rid of the guy, yeah.
All right, it cost me $3,000. Inflation. I gave him $3,000.
Inflation.
And you know that he's garbage for $3,000. I hope it was worth it for him.
Yeah.
Go read off your prompter again and put, you know, they write what he's got to say. Come on.
When you hear America versus the Mafia, what do you think when you hear that? Like, when you hear that sentence, elaborate on that.
I think the first thing I think about is when I was a young guy and John Gotti Sr. would tell me the government's bigger mobsters than we ever could be. And I used to look at him and agree with them, obviously, because I'm a young guy and I'm agreeing with them because it's John Gotti saying it. But I didn't believe it. You know, in those days I said, oh, this guy's crazy. But, you know, I'm saying yes and agreeing because he's saying it. But then now, kick into the future, I'm saying, wow, this guy was really ahead of the curve. He's right.
Hello, everybody. This episode of The Elite Show is sponsored by Fume. It's time to quit smoking naturally. Fume makes the gap between nicotine free easier with a natural inhaler that curbs cravings and supports recovery.
No smoke, no vape, and no harmful chemicals. Flavorful, plant-packed cores to reduce cravings and support recovery. Enjoyable and comfortable, because who said quitting had to suck?
Quit smoking today with Fume. That's F-U-M. And use code ELITE. That's Fume, F-U-M. Use the code ELITE. Go to the website, www.breathefume.com/elite. That's www.breathefume.com/elite.
And you know, John, I was stuck smoking vapes forever. I actually had a vape shop in the past, so I was fully addicted. I tried Fume. I was hesitant to try it because, you know, all the other ones I tried, it didn't work. It didn't do anything. But the Fume, it gives you that feeling that you're hitting that vape, you're smoking that vape, and it did wonders for me where I don't have to hide my other vape while I'm doing an interview with somebody and smokes all over the air. So Fume has been great for me, and that's www.breathefum.com, BREATHEFUM.com/elite, and get 10% off.
Hey, Tommy. So family members of mine have used Fume, F-U-M, And I'm a believer in the product. I've seen it successful with my family members. So people go out there and you're trying to quit smoking, go to Fume. Go to the website, www.breathefume.com/elite. That's Fume, F-U-M. I'm a believer. Go get yours.
It wasn't just him talking. It's really reality.
Now, when you say really reality, what do you mean really reality?
Because if you step back now and you look as a guy that's been experienced in the world and in the street and the mob, we go to prison. When we do something wrong, we get charged with it and we get convicted of it and we go to jail. But the government in the United States has become an institute where they're above the law. And I think that's why all the citizens had it on both sides of the aisle. I'm not talking if you're Republican or Democrat or if you're independent. I think America's woken up to saying, hey, we're no different than Cuba or Venezuela. Or they think they're smarter than us because they think they're manipulating us with the same rhetoric. But people are wise to it, and people are just tired of it. And they're watching our politicians that we vote into office don't abide by the same rules that we have to abide by.
And how do you think these politicians and anybody involved in the political field, they get away with things way worse than you ever did or other people ever did? I mean, a group of people we know, they've been accused of killing people, and nothing ever happens. And I think that maybe that's part of the reason why the Mafia would have a hate against America, basically, because it's not fair.
Well, you start seeing, our government, their political rhetoric is everything they do is for the better of the people. Germany said that under Hitler too. So the problem is when you get people like Nancy Pelosi, who's the House Speaker, that has the audacity to try to push a bill that goes looking into people's personal bank accounts at $600 without a criminal act. And they're trying to pass that bill and put $87 billion into IRS agents to go into your accounts. Meanwhile, she had 10 IOPs that made $300 million. $300 million, understand what she's made. And nobody looked into it. Originally, so people understand, and again, I'll relate it back to the Mafia. The RICO Act was brought into effect for money crimes, not for the Mafia. It was later on used against the Mafia. That same RICO Act should be brought to Nancy Pelosi and any other politicians that inside trading and making this kind of money and also think they're above and they can do whatever they want. And they believe that us, the people, believe that they're law-abiding citizens. They're nowhere near being law-abiding citizens. They have the ability to just abuse every law, change law when they feel like it, or bring in laws without an act by legislature. What I'm getting at now is mandating these vaccines. It doesn't matter if you're for them or against them. It wasn't brought ahead by legislation. So where do they get the audacity to bring that in and forget about the Constitution that our forefathers brought into us?
So when you think about that, so they're trying to mandate something on a citizen.
Yeah, well, the thing is this. If you really believe it's that dangerous a pandemic, then why would our government allow 2 million illegal immigrants into this country without testing vaccines, without mandating a vaccine on them? Yet our first responders, doctors, nurses, police, EMS, firemen, you're going to take their livelihood, and veterans that risked their lives and lost their lives for us, and their families are taking away their ability to feed their families and threaten them that they're going to take their livelihoods. Meanwhile, you're taking these 2 million immigrants and you want to give them money and close down our heroes of the country. And, on everybody on both sides of Democrat, Republican, Independent, like I said, they all recognize this. This has nothing to do with mandates anymore. This has nothing to do with immigrants anymore, whether you agree or disagree. This has to do with spreading a pandemic around this country. At the same time, telling a police officer that was out on the street risking his life, oh, by the way, if you don't get this shot, you're fired. Your family's going to be on the street, and you can't collect any money. But at the same time, That's the same government, CDC, FDA, so people understand. They're not even mandated to show if they had the vaccine. The government doesn't force them. So supposedly it's around 60 or 70% of them never got the vaccine. So you're the CDC. You're mandating this on other people, yet you're not telling us if you got the vaccine or not. And you're not even mandated by the government to show if you did or didn't. Is that laughable?
It's laughable. And now, after that being said, relate that to Mafia versus America.
Well, because the Mafia, in the way we were raised, what we did was intimidate people to get what we wanted through fear, through violence, through any kind of way, financial. The government's doing the same thing. If you don't do this, we're going to arrest you. They're arresting people on the street. If you don't need, again, the government says you do not need to show ID to vote. You don't need ID to get in this country. But if you're from this country, you need ID to get in. You need to show a passport to go get something to eat. And they're stepping in our business more and more. They got involved in unions. That's okay. They got involved in prohibition. Now they get involved in the marijuana business. So whatever the government says you guys can't do, we can do, and we're going to profit off it. And at the same time, the pay structure of your salaries are at a certain level, and inflation is zooming out of control. So when they tell you, well, pay raises aren't raised enough to
supplement
the high cost of living now. Look at the gas prices; they're 60-something% above. Who's taking all this money in? Who's profiting off all this money? Not us, not the average citizen. And I think the average citizen sees what's going on, and they keep trying to do this division thing. What the Mafia does. What the Mafia does is they try to divide and conquer, and that's how you stay strong. Our government is doing the same nonsense, psychological warfare on our people. It's not black against white, Spanish against white, Indian against black. It's us citizens that vote these people in, that these people forget they work for us. But they get automatic pay raises, they get double pensions. They're shaking down America, and I think people had enough of it. And if people don't wake up, we're going to wake up in a communist country like China.
So kind of like, for an example, like in the Mafia, you have fear, right? So before you go do something, you're going to think twice about it, or whatever it may be in that lifestyle. But in this political lifestyle and everybody around them, they have no fear. There's no consequences. Where in your life that you lived before, you had consequences to your actions. These people have no consequences at all.
Well, there's an investigation now with Durham, right? He brought an investigation on with the dossier with the collusion of Russia was fake, and they're gonna give us a couple, like they always do, some scraps. They might lock up a couple of people, which they did, and it's not going to go anywhere. But it's not going to go anywhere major up the chain. You know, they say all these people are on the doorsteps of Hillary Clinton. Let's see what happens. Most likely nothing. Just like nothing happened in Benghazi when CIA officers were killed, assemblymen were killed. There was an investigation, and if me and you ever burnt and put on fire all our emails and tapes and everything, we'd be in jail for obstruction of justice. Nobody goes to jail with our government. Obviously, let's look around. Is anybody getting locked up for any of this?
So who's the mob?
Well, the government, John Gotti, happened to be right. And I'm a guy that talks against the Mafia now. But I got to tell you one thing about the Mafia. And I mean this sincerely. The way I talk, everybody knows. I know a lot of criminals before and now. And I'm against that life. But one thing about the Mafia and all the guys I know, not one of them talked against this country. They love America. Our government and our officials seem to hate our country. And there's so many of these officials that we elected in that are going against the values of family values of this country. And you got to really wake up and worry about where the country's heading now. Because when they're anti-America, what are they doing in position to run our country? And if they're anti-America and they believe so much in China or Russia or any of those ways that they live under dictatorships and communism and Marxism, then why aren't they living in those countries? But when you see a country And, whether it's Biden or anybody else that leaves our people in Afghanistan and leaves billions of dollars of equipment in Afghanistan, and our government is staying silent, where's all our officials on both sides of the aisle? Very few of them are really outspoken here. Why is it okay they left our citizens there? Why is it okay they left billions of dollars? And why is it we're helping other countries financially? Do you know there's 9 million citizens every day don't know where their next meal is? But yet you're letting 2 more million immigrants coming in when you can't even feed our own people? And there's people living all over the street and homeless? Why isn't anybody questioning what is the reason behind this? It isn't because Joe Biden or anybody else that's leading this country really care about these citizens in other countries. Because if that really is the case, there's 15 million people that go hungry and die every day around the world. So where is it? Why isn't anybody helping them all these years? So, for them to let 2 million people walk into this country when we can't feed our own people, we don't take care of our veterans for their health problems, for going to sacrifice their lives for us. What is the real agenda here?
Our police officers. Also that, too. I mean, that's another thing. Like, how does the mafia feel about police in general?
I think, listen, a naive, rhetoric from some people as well. The mob guys, the street guys hate cops. That's not really true. Maybe they say that publicly because that's what they're supposed to say they think, or an immature, outlook. But most people want their moms to be safe on the street. Most people want their kids to be safe on the street. And without the police, they're not safe. And, the same thing with this BLM. I'm not against BLM. I'm against separation. So when BLM is talking about Black Lives Matter, I agree with them. I have a ton of black friends. I have a lot of friends that married into black families, right? So I grew up in an interracial neighborhood. But what I don't understand when BLM Newsom's talking the other day with Bonjoni, I forget how to say his last name.
News.
Fox News. Nice guy, and they started arguing what I think he missed the mark. He didn't ask Newsom. If you really believe in BLM and you don't want the police, how about those citizens that want them? Did you ever ask them? Did you ever go and take a poll and find out how many citizens really want the police in their neighborhoods? But more so than that, I want to ask Newsom, why aren't you advocating for all these young black kids that are getting killed all over the street? Their lives matter. So, when you're not advocating for what's important, important is saving kids' lives because they're our future. And when our government is suppressing all this, because when you talk about the government saying, I really care about BLM, because that was the stance, then why are you asking them for a new way of slavery, of identification to go get something to eat? Because they know the percentage of not being vaccinated are the black community and the brown community. We all know that. I know that. But everybody's so scared to talk about politics. But if you're not really, the division is what the government wants. And that's the reason why I'm out doing these shows, because I don't want the division. I don't believe in black news only. I don't believe in white news only. I don't believe in BET, black entertainment only, because that's a separation. That encourages racism.
Well, they say that the mafia is dead. That's what the government says. They say the mafia is dead. But if you look back before, when the mafia was kind of like involved in the government, everything ran a lot smoother. I mean, honestly, it did.
Well, when community, in any community, is community activists, right? They look out for their community. And there's a lot of good guys. I had a couple of people on my show before. Dan was on my show from Brownsville. I did some talks out there. These guys are generally from the heart looking out for the community. The problem is, again, our government isn't generally looking out for the community. When you could shut down oil lines and gas prices are 62 or 63% higher, heating our homes are higher, is anybody looking out for the American people? Or are they looking out for Russia? And you're begging OPEC to open up more oil for our country? You don't have to ask, because we have our own resources for the next hundreds of years.
What I think they don't get is the trickle-down effect. When you do one thing, it leads to another thing, to another thing. So when you up the price of gas, now you up the price of food. When you up the price of food, now you up the price of merchandise. I mean, we can't even get shit off the fucking docks right now for Christmas.
Well, our government, which became gangsters.
And I just want to say one more thing real quick. And when you go back to it, the Mafia started, right, because of prohibition and money. Correct. So the comparison I'm trying to make is now who comes in and takes over, because like the Mafia came in before because they had prohibition, right? So they saw a bunch of ways to make money. Now the Mafia isn't doing that. The government's in control. Now who comes in and takes the control now?
Well, once the government comes in and tries to take control of your personal life, your personal space, there is no more freedom. And this isn't about, it's not about necessarily oil. It's not necessarily about health. It's not about mandates for vaccines. It's not about any of that. It's about a government walking in and telling people how to control their life. And when they do that, they love power. And the more power that we give up to them, the more power they abuse. And you see the abuse. There's a wall going up on the border that Biden says we don't do walls, but then he put a wall up on his private estate by the beach. Now, it's okay because he wants to stay safe, right? But you don't want to keep the rest of the citizens of this country safe. So, and it's not any effect on immigrants. I'm not sure of where I stand on that, like a lot of Americans. But I know one thing. I'm not for them before the people of this country. And it's not fair to the people that want to come in legally, like the Albanians I know, right? Because I'm Albanian. And there's so many that want to come into this country, but they can't come in legally. But illegally, they can come in. So what are we advocating? Let them come in illegally? And the nonsense they keep insulting the intelligence of Americans that we don't understand what's going on. Yeah, we understand what's going on. And we understand what a virus is, and we understand what a virus isn't. But when you try to intimidate, threaten your citizens, you're no longer in America, you're in China. So we're threatening our citizens. You're threatening them every day that you care about their health, but yet you're sending two messages. If you really cared about their health, then why are you letting 2 million people in? If you really care about their health, then why isn't the CDC showing how many got vaccinated? If you really care about their health, why don't you tell them that 13,000 scientists and doctors signed petitions against that mandate? And why? Have rhetoric, because this is what happened to our Constitution, of freedom of speech. So this is the bullying that goes on in the mob. If you don't do what we say, we kill you. If you don't do what we say, we rob you. If you don't do what you say, we extort you. So the United States of America became a big extortion machine. So it goes back to somebody
just bigger. Just
a lot bigger, but John Gotti said it.
Yeah.
He said it, and he really is. I thought he said it out of, anger and hate and some of the things that we all, because the government's coming after us. But then you look at him and say, we're nothing compared to this organization of corruption that's going in with their own government that everybody in this country is sick of. So when you see these songs going, I love Brandon, you're understanding, Joe Biden represents not our president anymore, the frustration and hate that this country has towards our leaders. He's just one of the leaders. And, when Bill Clinton or anybody who's a Democrat, but he didn't let this country get abused. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is letting this country get abused in every which way.
Abused and laughed at, too.
Well, we're a lot, we're a
laughing stock is what we are. Yeah.
We're not respected around the world anymore.
Hell no. And, like from Albania and, Italy and everything else, how does that make you feel that now 2,000 can just walk across like nothing, but your family and my family and our great-grandfathers and we had to go through hell to get over to this country and do it the right way. But these guys are walking over. Not only are they walking over, then they're getting a check in their hand.
Well, I just talked to a couple of mob guys the other day, and I was trying to convince them into what I'm doing and, helping kids. And they said to me, you don't seem like you're intimidated to get killed by us or hurt by us, but you keep talking against us. But are you intimidated from the government? And I had to step back and laugh and go, you know what? You're right. They're trying to intimidate me not to have my opinion, freedom of speech. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to do this today. Because if I got to look at the government scared to talk, then I'm not in America anymore. Because I'm not saying anything but advocating for truth and freedom and for our veterans. for people that I really respect that risked their lives. For that assemblyman that was in Benghazi that got killed, and those CIA agents that lost their lives. Where is that, America? Why is it that we have an Attorney General, Garland, that has the audacity to lie to the American people who are watching? Like, you're not fooling any of us. We know what you're doing. We know your son-in-law is capitalizing off of CRT. You actually used your office to threaten American citizens, moms and dads that love their kids, and you're trying to force a separation in family. We understand that.
Do you think he actually believes himself? Like he lied enough to believe himself?
He's not a well-spoken guy. He's not articulate.
Nah.
He was stuttering. It's obvious he's a liar. He's not. But the problem is so many people are frustrated because they can't do anything about it. And we just got to listen to this guy insult us. And then we got to look at him and say, wow, who's really the mafia here now? He is. He has the, I mean, and they got to answer to God one day what they're doing to this country. All the people that sacrificed their lives for this country. They have the nerve because it's financial gain for them and power. That's all this is. He's abusing that office, and he's going after our parents like they're terrorists, and have the audacity and the nerve to lie right on national TV as if he's not doing it. And he abused it. Since when is a terroristic threat a federal situation?
And then he tried to cover it up. Remember, then he gets back on and he tried to cover it up, his own lie, and then just lied on top of lie and made it even worse.
I mean, you got some really great leaders that are out that I talk about, that I think are true Americans. Tom Cotton, Tim Scott. And, you got some good guys, senators, congressmen that are really at Byron out of Florida. You got some, that really love this country. And, and the one thing this country has learned over years is to use race to divide the country as much as they can. Fear, race. Now they found a new thing, a virus. So anything, when you have leaders up, representatives like Fauci that are killing animals the way they are. Forget about people right now. And then you see what he's not human to do what he's doing. And then go on TV and, over and over again and lie and change the definition of, what he's doing in China. And, we don't got to outright catch him. We're all not detectives and police, but we're intelligent enough to know he's full of shit. And that's the problem. They never pay the consequence. He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't go to jail. He should go to jail for it. He's killed
None of them.
Thousands and thousands of people he's responsible for killing. And everybody's hedging their words. What's their hedge? This guy is mentally ill for what he's done to society. And we don't got to catch him with the cookie in his hand where he took a bite. He already ate a box of cookies. We don't need to see him take one more bite.
But again, and you said it, if you did 2% of what any of them did, you'd be doing life.
And
that's tough to swallow. That's got to be tough to swallow.
Well, the thing is, as people keep going to the polls and they go to the polls, we got to hold these people accountable. And if we don't, we got to get some people that really love this country to start running for office. And we have to stop these life terms on these government positions and these automatic pensions. Some of these laws have to change, and the people have to step out the way they're doing now and stop what this government is abusing us, or we might as well all just move to Venezuela. We should all move to Cuba. And if those societies are so good, then why doesn't de Blasio live there in Cuba? What, you like it so much, go there. They know that doesn't work because they lock their citizens in their countries. They don't lock them out. Everybody's trying to get in this country.
They're locked in.
They're locked in. There's a difference. So if those, when people say, well, they want a new world order around the world, the rest of the world did not sacrifice what this country did for freedom for hundreds of years. So when people say, why shouldn't the United States? Because we were supposed to be a special country above everyone else because of our actions, because of the way we live our life with freedoms and speech. And when you got to be intimidated, like I am right here, to be out here on the show to talk against Attorney General Garland or the president of this country has disgraced us. And it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat. Like I said, I was a Clinton guy. I think I'm really, I was a Trump guy, I was a Clinton guy. I'm America guy.
You're an independent guy, and you're for whoever's better for the country.
For the country.
That's it.
For the freedoms of this country. We might not agree on what's going on with each government official.
when you go through these politicians, like like everybody I know, it's not Biden, it's somebody else who's behind Biden. You know what I mean? That's calling the shots. You have Biden, you have JFK, you have Giuliani. Who do you think that the mafia hates the most out of all three? Because JFK did his part with his brother or whoever he appointed attorney general. Then he had Giuliani that wiped out a gazillion people. Now you got this jerk off where maybe he's not technically going after organized crime, but he's fucking things up. He's fucking trade up. He's fucking money up.
Well, Biden's not going after organized crime. He's going after America. It's worse.
Well,
it's worse.
It's worse. That's what I mean.
And Giuliani, I stepped away from the mafia. Giuliani, I have a lot of respect for because this guy, when you're living an illegal life, right, he was there to protect citizens of New York City, this country, representing Donald Trump as an attorney. He's in a positive position. These guys are in a negative position trying to destroy families, everyday working families that go to work, like I said, like firemen, like nurses, like doctors. They're intimidating them to actually talk against medicine. So if you don't have a doctor that's able to really say what he feels about your health, where are we as a country? So, you're intimidating these regular, hardworking citizens. You're not talking about gangsters. You're talking about a new way. They've found a new way to enslave people, not just blacks, but people. I come from Albania. We were a communist suppressed country. So I understand what it is to be suppressed through my family and through history. So I know exactly what they're doing. They just found a new way of doing it. When someone's got to show their identification and say, can I go get some food? And then when they say, if I don't get this vaccine, my son can't eat today, or my son can't go to school, or they're telling a person what to think, this is Marxism. I don't know what everybody's waiting for. And when they blatantly lie and, they go on the news and just insult us like we're not educated, it's a real problem, and it has nothing to do with if he's a Democrat or Republican. It has to do with the government itself has lost its way.
And that's what they make it out to be. Everything's you're either red or you're blue or you're this or you're that.
Well,
it's just...
Well, the government did this, this is fear-mongering. And so if I had to guess, and if I had to give you a rating between the mafia now, speaking honestly, and the government, I'd take the mafia any day. Yeah. The mafia is not trying to go against this country. The mafia is trying to earn a couple of bucks. And the people they hurt is like
their
a
own
speck. It's a speck compared to what the government's hurting now.
Do you think these judges today have like when you go into court, do you think a judge already looks at you and says, okay, you're John Alite, but boom, 10 years? Do you think you're already judged before you're even really judged, is what I'm saying?
I think, again, there's I think all our institutes have lost. I'd say 98% of them have lost the respect and the confidence from us as people in America. Before you go to the Supreme Court and you say it's not political, now I think it became political there too. So when the highest courts of our country becomes political, everything our forefathers built and everything they wanted not to happen is happening. And when you can bypass an election, doesn't matter if the election was corrupt, the last one or not. My opinion was it was because we see what's in front of our face. I'm an ex-street guy, gangster. That's not the problem, what side you like. And anybody that is trying to push that agenda of what side you like, they're lying to the American people also. It has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. It has to do with having fair elections. If you need identification to drive a car, if you need identification to go buy cigarettes, if you need identification to get into an event, you need identification to show who you are. Why would it be any different for elections? The only reason why they want to do that is to cause, will they be able to ruin an election? I can't find the word.
The mail-in, like the mail-in ballot.
Well, it's just to cause. It's just leaving the gates open for corruption. Yeah. Is why they're doing it. I couldn't find the exact word I was looking for, so I was stumbling around. But when you're trying to run anything, with intimidation. And really, I don't even know what to say at this point because I'm so disgusted that my kids and my grandkids got to be raised in a country where I think we might lose freedom if this keeps it up. We lost a lot of freedom. When someone tells you got to stay home, you're not in America. When someone tells you can't open your business, you're not in America. When somebody tells you you got to lose all your money, when someone says you got to have identification or go eat, when someone says if you don't put this needle in your arm because I tell you to, where's this country going? And if somebody tells you, well, we really care about people, why didn't you do that when it came to hepatitis? Why didn't you do that when it came to the flu? 70, 80,000 people die. Where's the masks that we know that don't really work? Because look at the numbers in California and Florida, and they're all masked up. Where is the people to say, well, why isn't Newsom wearing a mask? He was just at a wedding with Pelosi. No one's wearing a mask.
This is the John Alite show. So how do we fix this? I mean, what's the first step that you take in fixing this?
Unfortunately,
from a street point of view, because I think that's the only thing that's going to work because obviously the corporate point of view doesn't work.
Well, I hope to God it doesn't because in the back of my mind, one thing people do adhere to, and that's violence, right? And, because I was a very violent guy in a mob, I talk against it now on the street. But what I do see is if they continue this, people will take to the street. Eventually. I think everybody's too stupid to really understand until it's too late. The one thing they did cause is, did you notice in the street, you had police walking with BLM, everybody's protesting in the city that they're together. And I think the biggest problem, if you're educated, for Newsom, since he seems to be educated, I want to say something without insulting him. How stupid are you to let them divide us? Because that's what they want to do. And if he really wants to be a true leader, he's got to show unity and stop looking at people's skin. Because anybody that's really a true American or who has a true heart is going to save whoever's in front of him because he's another human being. So when they allow the government to do the separation crap and you watch the news and any of these journalists that do this, I mean, it disgusts me to watch them as journalists not have any kind of moral bound to say I can't do this because I know kids are going to kill each other.
It's like, how do you go home and sleep at night, right?
I use Don Lemon real quick. He's a guy who's married to a white man, and he talks about racism all the time. He's a man that's married and lives in the Hamptons in a very rich area. He's a man that talks about mandates and this and that, and then he goes to Florida and he's got no mask. So, they're such hypocrites. And, I like Bill Maher, by the way, because Bill Maher, he's a Democrat. And, so this ain't about politics. But he's also a very intelligent and he's a human being. And I think he has a great heart. And he's a great show, actually. But he's outspoken about this. Stop already with using these mandates. Stop trying to use these masks. Stop trying to divide people. Because stop trying to be gangsters that you kept talking about. Guys like John Gotti lost their life in jail. But he has 10 times more integrity than all these guys had. And he happens to be right. Because when you're talking about what he's done compared to what this government's doing, what they've done to leave thousands of Americans in Afghanistan, I mean, how does that just go away and no one's talking about it? This should be, these guys were our heroes. These were people that risked their lives for us. And it's not okay to leave their families there every minute that goes by. And guys like Don Lemon are sitting in the Hamptons in his rich estate while these people are suffering there. Why aren't you, as a journalist, have a little bit of dignity and pride and talk about this and not let this go?
It's guys that we're supposed to be looking up to. Yeah. And then the last question I'll ask you is, what do you think, as of today, what do you think America thinks of the Mafia?
I think people are going to wake up like I did as an ex-gangster that, you know what, maybe they're not as bad as everybody thinks when you see the rest of what the world's becoming. Maybe, I haven't seen anybody talk, I don't know any gangster. If somebody can find one that talks anti-America. I think most gangsters, as crazy as it sounds, they're very pro-America, and most of them want the, maybe they have, the wrong way of getting their financial means. I mean, listen, nobody's perfect, but they don't go against this country. And anybody that goes against this country, to me, is the enemy. And unfortunately, our own government is the enemy.
It's a beautiful morning in New York City.